Coming up on today's Locked On Senators. In a recent interview, General Manager Pierre Dorion hinted that Ottawa may not be done adding forward. So today, we're going to look at 5 potential targets.
And we have another interview from our Dev Camp Day. This time, it's a rare twofer, 2 Swedes, Oskar Pettersson and Filip Nordberg.
1 3-time recurring guest and an introduction to the mythical creature. Plus, 1 year ago today was an important one for the Ottawa Senators. That's all coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 841 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Please like and subscribe wherever you download your podcast. We're also free and available on YouTube. Today is Thursday, July 13th, and Pilsy, Claude Giroux has been an Ottawa Senator for exactly 1 full calendar year.
Yeah, it feels great to say he's got 2 years left on that deal he signed a year ago today. I'm wearing the same shirt as the day we broke the news, so everything is very good as it goes with Claude Giroux being an Ottawa Senator. Ross, who could have predicted that he would have such a productive season last year in his Sens debut? Who?
Well, I don't know. It'd probably have to be some no-name podcaster who doesn't know a damn thing about anything, who's coping with the Alex DeBrincat trade, as every Detroit Red Wings fan who's in our mentions seems to be saying. But it's very clear what the most important signing was, or acquisition was, last summer for the Ottawa Senators. And it's not the cat. It's Claude Giroux. And the fact that this is such like a besides hockey point, but just the fact that Claude Giroux, I mean, the other night he posted on his Instagram story, his son Gavin, rollerblading around the CTC that's obviously cement for all the events in the summer. Like, he's an Ottawa guy. He's home, and it just feels so right that he's playing for the Senators. And you know what really makes me happy? It's not just a, courtesy invite in. This guy was, third on the team in points behind Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk last year. He had the most productive output of his career with 35 goals last year. As you see the card pulled up if you're watching on YouTube, the numbers were exemplary throughout the entire season. The defensive numbers. What's the one play that stands out? There's 2 that stand out for me for Claude Giroux last year. When you think of his season, what's the one moment that stands out?
Well, I was anticipating this question would come up. I'll let you take the number 1 overall one, Ross, but the moment that comes up for me is it's pinned on my Twitter profile. It was that game against LA. I put the Celine Dion music behind it, and it's absolutely beautiful. Go check it out if you haven't already. But Tim Stützle does a backhand pass from his own zone in overtime, hits Claude Giroux all alone in stride. He goes into the offensive blue line, does a little fake shot. I think it's quick in net, bites on it fully, and then just a nice deke and a score, and that's the game. And I remember that LA game, Ross, they needed that win. Things were starting to slip away from them, and that was a big momentum booster. So I'm going to take that as my moment, just because watching it with My Heart Will Go On in the background it's a beautiful thing.
A Hollywood ending to that game, you could say, at Staples Center or whatever garbage they're calling that rink now. No, I actually love that call for you. And Drew had a goal and an assist in that game. And the ending was great. Even though they gave up the lead, he scored. It was 20 seconds into overtime too, Pilsy. Yeah. Like, overtime had just started, and you lose the opening draw. LA got possession in Ottawa's zone. You're like, here we go. And then no, Stützle to Giroux. I love that one. So I almost feel like I have a responsibility to the audience to say the slap shot against San Jose. So I've said it, right? But that's not my moment. It was the diving defensive effort against Washington.
Ooh, yes, that's a good one.
He looked like a shortstop, full stretch, gets it on his stick, stops it, and then your play was Stützle to Giroux. This was Giroux to Stützle, and Stützle made a nice, beautiful little move in tight and was able to finish it. So just that, because that, I think, was an example of the fact that Giroux is not just an offensive player, but it's how he turns defensive plays into offense with that uncanny ability to read the play. So many more moments coming for Claude Giroux, but there's plenty to choose from. His 1,000th point against Carolina, the fact the whole team got off the bench. And then there's a couple. I typed in Giroux Senators on YouTube this morning, and I was looking for our immediate reaction with you, which you can go check out. The vibes, they last, definitely. So if you want a good pick-me-up, go check that out. But Pilsy, there was twice where the Senators he was first star of the week. Oh, another one. How about the toe drag against Toronto, where he ended up ripping? That was in our boy. I think it was Pat Hines, where he's doing the little wave, the clap. That's what it was. The little clap, little clean clap, the golf clap. But no, so it was after that game. He was second star of the week or first star of the week. And DJ's like, "Gee, you got anything to say? Any speech?" Like, "No, I'm good, thanks." Another day at the office for Claude Giroux. So that's the type of leadership that he's going to bring. Hopefully, a Senator for life, even after he's done playing. But man, what an acquisition! 1 year ago today, Claude Giroux to the Ottawa Senators. Let us know in the comments your favorite Claude Giroux memory. 79 points, plenty to choose from on the offensive side of the puck. So hopefully many more of those next season and beyond for Claude Giroux. Is he going to have a new guy to pass to on the power play? Obviously, we've already discussed Dominic Kubalik coming in, but what other forwards could the Senators target? We'll get to that after, because Pilsy, this interview is something we've never done before. 2 people live at the same time. It's a lot of fun, especially getting to introduce Filip Nordberg to the Senators community. Yeah,
it's definitely a fun interview, and I'm glad that was our idea to do that, because we had already talked to Oskar Pettersson, twice already, right? So we kind of had a rapport with him. Filip Nordberg, the mythical creature, we didn't have any sort of rapport with him. We weren't sure kind of where his comfort doing a full English interview was. So we said, let's get his Swedish buddy on. He already knows us. Everything can be a little loose, a little lighter, and it ended up being fun. Definitely something we've never done, and something we'll probably do more of. Like next time, we got to get Igor and Angus interview, both of them, and a Mads Mando interview as well. I think would be awesome.
Yeah, and we're going to have Mando on tomorrow's show, which will be exciting. He just signed his contract, so we'll get to. We haven't chatted with him since his NHL debut. We had his dad. We had his dad on after, Luciano Mendelese, but not Kevin. So it'll be fun to talk with him as well. That's coming up tomorrow on Locked On Senators. The one thing I will say is next time we'll do 2 microphones when we have 2 guests on. But again, that was our first time doing live interviews, so the audio is a little in and out at times. I still think we wouldn't put it out if it wasn't worthy of it, so it's definitely good enough to be out. But I think, we've learned. So that was our rookie tour of doing live interviews. So we'll be better next time, and hopefully it's at Media Day with the big club. Would be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that next season here at Locked On Senators. All right, let's get to our forward targets, our interview, lots coming up. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at AG1. Guys, with 1 delicious scoop of AG1 in a glass of water every day, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and more, so you can start your day off right. Ross, is your AG1 kick still going strong? What streak are we on here?
I actually just got my next batch because it's a subscription model at Athletic Greens, drinkag1.com/NHL network. And they just send it every 30 days. So they know you're about to run out of your last bag. So I just got my next bag yesterday. Yeah, I'm still on the kick. It's working great. And it really is something I look forward to every morning.
Nice. That's a good way to keep you honest, too. In 30 days, you get about, it's 30 scoops per thing, right? So in 30 days, you better be ready for that new bag. And there's so many good reasons to keep that streak going, because this special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all of those things. And it's lifestyle friendly, so you don't need to worry. No matter what lifestyle you have, it's good for you. Less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything. And it's still taste great. So right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is head to athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance from Athletic Greens.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our favorite place in Ottawa, Shawarma Palace. Where else would it be? It's Shawarma Palace. We love Shawarma Palace, all 7 locations. They've got the chicken platters, the beef platters. You really can't go wrong. Falafel as well. Everything is available to you at Shawarma Palace, the only place to go in Ottawa for shawarma since 1997. They've got the longevity. They've got the fresh ingredients. They've got the enormous portion size, and it's literally more economical than going to the grocery store. You can load up at Shawarma Palace. I love the chicken platter. I get the garlic sauce in there. It is an amazing experience. I love going to the one at Rideau Street. They also have one on Bank Street, 2 on Bank Street, one near Hunt Club Road. The other one is by Baseball Town, right near Gladstone in the heart of downtown Ottawa, just on the outskirts of the Glebe. But there are 7 locations to choose from. They're also available on Uber Eats and the Shawarma Bus, which we need to get our hands inside, serving the good people shawarma. That is at Mooney's Bay this weekend for Hope Volleyball Classic. So if you're going down to Mooney's Bay this weekend, go check them out at Shawarma Palace. We love our friends at Shawarma Palace, so go check them out today at Shawarma Palace. All right, let's get to our interview with a pair of 2022 Ottawa Senators draft picks. Here is Oskar Pettersson and Filip Nordberg. All right, we're now pleased to be joined by 2 very special guests, a pair of 2022 draft picks for your Ottawa Senators. We have Filip Nordberg and Oskar Pettersson. Fellas, how you doing? I'll start with Filip because, Oskar, you've been on the show before, man. We know what's up. How are you?
I'm doing good. So, came to Ottawa for 2 days ago and feeling good here.
And this is your first time. What did you think of Ottawa before you got here? Did you know anything?
Not so much. The only thing was like the head of the capital. So the only thing I knew was, that before. So I didn't have anything to go on. So it's great to be here.
Is it nice to have Oskar here as well? A guy. When did you guys meet? When's the first time you got to meet?
The first time we met was, I think, the U18 season. We played a national team together. So it was the first time there.
Nice.
Yeah, and Oskar, how you like in Ottawa?
Yeah, I mean, first time was last year. Liked it, and I liked it so much that I even stayed for a couple of more days after the dev camp. So
nice.
Can't complain. And this summer I'm staying for a little bit longer too. So I really like it. Yeah.
Is that to kind of explore a little bit or to work out here? What's the plan?
First of all, I want to give myself the best opportunities for next year, and I thought that to stay here and work out a little bit more would be great. And then also, I'm heading straight to national team tournament in Plymouth with the under 20 team there. So I thought it was better to just keep on training here and going straight there instead of going back home to Sweden again.
And you say next year, you're already signed though. Are you going for sure back to SHL this year?
Yeah, that's the plan.
So for the year beyond. So you guys are both going to be playing against each other next year, hey? You've worn like 25 jerseys this year.
Yeah, it was crazy this season. Yeah, it was a bit insane everywhere in Sweden. So hopefully this year I stay in one team, so I'm not jumping around so much.
What's the hardest part? Like just different D partners and knowing what they're doing?
No, not that part. The craziest part is like to find a place where I can play.
Yeah.
So that was the intense thing for this season. So
meanwhile, he's in one spot forever, eh?
Yeah.
Now I saw that for one of the J20 teams, you were named captain. How was that experience?
Captain?
Yeah, were you a captain for one of the seasons? Maybe Elite Prospects has wrong.
Yeah, but it was for the beginning.
Oh, okay.
So
Can't remember what teams you played.
No,
Like
that's
7
fair.
teams
That's
this year.
fair.
Come on.
no, we're starting up. Like I didn't know if I should play like the first half in under 20.
Okay.
If it should be in the pro team, so they named me as a captain there in the under 20 team. So
What is your scouting report on Oskar Pettersson?
Oskar Pettersson is a tough guy. Skill, can play in the both hand, and of course he has a sense of scoring goals. So
He said he wants to be Patrick Hornqvist. Do you like that comparison?
Yeah, of course.
I like it too. I like it too.
Now, Oskar, I'll ask you the same question about Filip. What's your scouting report on Filip?
Oh, yeah. Obviously a two-way defenseman, but I would say maybe a little bit more of a defensive touch with his big size, good reach. He's tough, obviously, with that frame.
Not afraid to take his shirt off on Instagram, this guy.
We've seen that before.
Can't blame him.
Very, very tough player.
We wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. No, the podcasters, that's not for us. That's for sure. Now, how have you guys liked Dev Camp so much so far?
So far, like yesterday was good for me to arrive at this arena to see everyone in real life and not only over the screen. So for me, it's only been good so far.
That's awesome. And we talked to Oskar. How long did it take you to get here from Sweden?
I was counting on it around 30 hours.
Oh,
so
Who are we blaming? An airline, an airport? We got to get mad at somebody.
I would say air company then, but
okay.
No names.
You don't want a name drop?
No names. No names.
Okay.
That's
if you
fair.
need a hitman, though, like where are your guys?
You were just scouting Montreal for later, right? That was the plan?
I don't know. I was just tired when I was speaking.
No doubt.
So where do you live in Sweden? Are you in Stockholm?
Yeah, I live in Stockholm.
So this isn't a big city for you? Because we talked to Tyler Clevin, who comes from Fargo, and he says, I really like how it's farmland all around the arena. I say, we need you to pitch to free agents. Like, come on, we need this. But that's awesome. So you guys in this arena, you've been in big arenas before. So what's the biggest adjustment for you coming over here? Have you played on the smaller ice before?
That's the thing. I only play on the big ice. So moving on to the smaller ice is a big step, of course.
It could almost be better for your game, though. Obviously, you skate well, too. But you say you're a big physical defenseman. You almost think it could be a good thing for you when you come over?
Yeah, I think I can use my physical much more. With a big frame, I can maybe hunt guys down a little bit easier than on a big rink. So, of course, like you said, it's going to be easier, maybe. So the future will answer the question.
So next year, SHL for sure, hopefully one spot. And then after that, are you signed beyond that or maybe come over to North America afterwards?
I don't know. I have two years with Växjö.
Okay.
So we will see what happens.
And you, after this year, you're hoping to come over the year after? Because congratulations. New contract. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's great to hear.
Obviously, I'm just focusing on the upcoming season.
Of course.
And I haven't decided anything yet, but there was a thought behind why I just signed 1 year in Sweden.
That's great. Rogla, some of the best jerseys in Europe, too, with the eagle.
They're dope.
So sharp.
Yeah, they're awesome. And hey, some good jerseys here in Ottawa too. Final question for me. Thanks so much for your time, guys. I'll get Oskar to answer and then Filip. What's your main focus for this offseason? What's the one thing you're really trying to improve on?
For me, it's pretty clear to get faster. I want to get faster on the ice. So then obviously focus on the power in the gym. Muscles I already have
there you go.
pretty much, and I have easy to build muscles, but I obviously want to get faster, so that's the main focus for me.
And you?
No, but seriously, it's great for him. For my own, it's to continue to work on the feet. Big guy, and I cannot only trust my physical part, so I need to improve my skating abilities. And of course, put the work in with a core, hip, and lower body. So it's a really big, focus spot this year. But when it comes down, it's more the frequency on the feet that needs to improve much more.
Well, you guys are both plenty of time, right? Just 1 year after your draft. Final question for me, and we appreciate both you guys. And Oskar, your third time on the show. Yeah. Let's go. We love to see it. Friend of the show territory. Who's somebody that right away stood out to you at Dev Camp? Was there someone where you saw them on the ice, maybe they're faster than you thought, or, you probably didn't know too many of the guys coming over here. Did anyone jump out at you? And I know you weren't on the ice yesterday, but is anyone that you've been following, maybe a Sens prospect that we should keep our eye on?
I'm pumped to see Halliday.
Yeah.
Obviously had a great first year there in college, so I'm really pumped to see him because he was a guy that stood out last year for me because last year when he came in, I had no clue who he was. He was also drafted.
Overager too.
Exactly. And for me, he stood out already last year at the camp. So I'm really pumped up to see him. And then obviously also Booch and Stapchuk too. So yeah.
You like the 2022 draft pick sticking together though,
yeah,
eh?
No
I like that.
I like that.
That's awesome. Filip Nordberg, Oskar Pettersson, really appreciate your time. Best of luck the rest of the week, and welcome to Ottawa for the first time. Welcome back. Glad you got here, eh? That's awesome.
Stick taps to Filip and Oskar for joining us. Really fun conversation with them, and it's going to be really fun to follow both in the SHL next season. Before we get to our forward targets, you're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs are especially our friends in the summertime. Their shorts that they sent Ross and I are awesome. There's so many reasons, but I'm going to stick to 3 key reasons here. Ross, the first thing is they look great. You know our old saying, look good, feel good, play good. Well, if you want to be out there on a hike, playing tennis, going out for drinks with your friends, whatever occasion it is, you can look great with Bird Dogs. Second thing, who cares if you look good if you're not comfortable? You're not going to feel good about it. So the comfort that Bird Dog provides is second to none. They have a stretch fit that makes it feel like you're wearing something that's absolutely loose and flowing, but it has that slimmer fit look so that you can have a sculpted thigh look. You love seeing that. That's something Filip Nordberg does not need any help with, that's for sure. But what I like too is the anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long, so then you're comfortable. That's the other one I was looking at here. So what you want to do is go to birddogs.com/lockedonnhl, and you can get a free Yeti-style tumbler. I've got mine right here with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedonnhl for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you.
All right, Pilsy. Everyone, you're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day. Shout out to the everydayers out there that help us do what we do. Make sure you like, subscribe, and Pilsy, a new way that people can help the show is when you're at work, just put a playlist on and have it in the background all day, every day. Help support the show here at Locked On Senators. No, we appreciate all the citizens out there. People are reaching out. They love the Sens Central citizens. We've got more coming. Shout out to Dan Tate yesterday for joining us. If you missed that, free and available wherever you get your podcast. We have already the next few lined up. And then we are taking requests in the YouTube comments, and let us know an email address or your social media, and we will find you and get you as a Sens Central citizen. Pierre Dorion is looking for a forward. Who do you think they should target? Should we go UFAs first and then trade targets, or do you want to get spicy with trades right off the bat?
Let's start with the UFAs because we've already kind of touched on them, but we want to make sure to include them in this episode. So let's start with that.
Okay, let's get people in the comments because we're gonna spoil. There's 2 forwards left that are like very legit targets. Vladimir Tarasenko, Tomas Tatar. Who do you prefer? Let us know in the comments, because I was shocked that their point totals were as close as they are. And there was another shocking stat on Tomas Tatar. Should we pull up the graphic right now and just let the people see just the eye-popping plus minus on this guy? Tomas Tatar, I mean, he's getting a little bit older, sure, but the production has not gone south for the 32, soon-to-be 33-year-old in the National Hockey League. 82 games last year, a perfect season in terms of health and availability. 20 goals, 28 assists, good for 48 points, had 30 penalty minutes, and was plus 41. What kind of contract do you think Tatar is looking for?
I'm not really sure, to be honest, Ross. I'm not sure if he's going to be one of those guys that him and his agents are looking at the landscape of things and being like, we think we can get a better deal here because how old is he? So he's 32. So you can probably get one more kind of medium-term deal, cash in and in free agency rather. So maybe he's thinking, I'll do a 1-year deal at a decent cap hit just to fit myself on a good team and get into a good situation, have another good season, and then sign my last big ticket in free agency next year. Or maybe he's at a point where he's like, hey, 48 points in 82 games and a plus 41. That's probably as kind of good as it's going to get for me here. This is a good time to cash in. So maybe he'll try to get a 3 or 4 year deal this year. I'm not sure what direction he would want to go, and more specifically, where he would want to go with the Sens, if he would have a certain strategy there.
Right, 2 years. He's coming off a 2-year contract with a $4.5 million cap hit. It was a backloaded contract. So last year he made $5.25 million. I'm shocked he hasn't signed yet, and I'm curious to see what the totals look. If he's a guy, I think when you're that age and you're coming off that season, I think a higher salary on a 1-year deal is probably the preference. No, kind of get that. Or if you want the stability, maybe you will sign for 3.5 or 3.8 and try to get 3 years term and push it to where you think the production might not be there. But I'm of the mind that Tatar would be a better fit for Ottawa than Vladimir Tarasenko. Sens have some trigger men already. I don't think that necessarily is what they need. I think it's kind of another middle six scorer, kind of like the numbers are very similar to Kubalik. Obviously the plus minus is different. They played in different situations, of course, but they each scored exactly 20 goals. Tatar had 3 more points, played 1 more game. I think he was a little more consistent throughout the year. And that's something like a very, very poor man's Claude Giroux is kind of a Thomas Tatar, where it's like, he's not the fastest out there. He's not the biggest, but hockey IQ is what's going to make him a successful NHL player.
Yeah, and I think it would be good to get another veteran guy in. I mean, Tarasenko is at a similar part of his career, so I think him or Tatar in that aspect would be a good boost here. And the thing I like about Thomas Tatar is he would probably come in a lower cap hit than Tarasenko, and he's a guy that you could flip-flop with Kubalik, second-line, third-line wingers, and either way, I think I'd be comfortable either way. It's not like Tarasenko would be clearly the second-line guy and Kubalik would be the third-line guy, and you probably wouldn't switch. And I think, Ross, Thomas Tatar is probably waiting for Tarasenko to sign, and then he can be like, okay, now I'm the top guy. Who's going to make space for me? Like, you want to compete with the team that just signed Tarasenko? Hit me up.
Well, Vladimir Tarasenko is another option we have here. He played 69 games last season, had a nice season, 50 points, 18 goals in the mix there, only 8 penalty minutes, and you noted that 0 of those came with the New York Rangers after being traded near the NHL trade deadline. He was minus 14 on the season. Of course, he's a 2019 Stanley Cup champion. He brings pedigree. He's only 1 year removed from scoring 82 points or 85, well over a point per game in the 2021-22 season. And he would obviously add the name recognition, I think, a little bit more than a Thomas Tatar. But as you said, a little bit more expensive. And, I mean, yeah, he definitely contributes, and he had that great year 2 years ago. But also, I'm a little bit more worried about the health. And he's missed a lot of time. I know he was pretty critical of St. Louis, how they handled his shoulder surgeries a couple of years ago. But if he's 100% healthy, he's the better player between him and Thomas Tatar. But I think Tatar is the more sure thing in terms of what you're going to get night in and night out, consistency-wise.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the thing, too, like, the only option I see with Tarasenko is him signing that 1 year deal, being like, I'm going to put myself in a good spot to cash in later. Like, Vladimir Tarasenko is not signing a contract more than even 2. Like, I'd be surprised if he signs a 2-year deal with anyone right now. So I think if you're looking at Tarasenko, it'd be another 1 year deal. And then do you really want to have Tarasenko and Kubalik on 1 year deals here? And kind of, if neither of them decide to stay or sign an extension, now you've got 2 same holes in your roster again. So I like Tarasenko as an option. Obviously, he comes closer to replacing DeBrincat's goal totals, but I think with Tatar, you might be able to get him for a couple of years here, and he'll be cheaper. You need that cap space. Even though the cap is hopefully going up, having cap space when you're a team competing for playoffs is crucial.
Tarasenko is 1 year younger than Thomas Tatar as well, and had 3 goals and 4 points in 7 playoff games with the Rangers. And that's where you're getting probably the playoff point total is probably what gives him the name recognition a lot more than Thomas Tatar. He has 44 goals and 64 points in 97 career playoff games. So 44 goals in 97 games, a pretty good pace there. He was second only to Jaden Schwartz in the 2019 playoffs for goal scoring output when he won that Stanley Cup. So those are the two UFA options for the Ottawa Senators. But if they're looking to trade, Pilsy, I'm going to let you have your pick of the three guys we're going to bring up here. Who would be your number one choice to get in to the Ottawa Senators? Of course, knowing that we're trying to be realistic in terms of guys who could be available and whose cap hit could be taken by Ottawa.
Well, if you're passing it to me, I'm taking Travis Konechny 1-1 here for trade candidates. I mean, this is a guy that just makes so much sense for Ottawa right now. He's only 26 years old. He's a right shot, but he can play both the right side and the left side. At least EP has him positioned as that. And he's coming off a career year. First time in his career he's had point per game pace, and 61 points in 60 games actually ties his career high, which he had in 2019-2020, but that was in 6 more games. So right now he's a hot player. He's got 2 years left at 5.5. That's such a valuable contract, I think. So my top trade target has to be Travis Konechny. Has to be.
But I'm just a little worried about the health. And again, maybe that's just me being once bitten, twice shy with the Ottawa Senators. And, already having a guy like Jacob Chychrun who has had some problems staying healthy the last couple of years. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing by any stretch that they brought him in. I know last year he played 79 out of 82 and the year before 50 out of 56. But even the year before, he's missed almost 20 games. This year he missed 22 games. But I would love it. Let's be clear. I would love it, but I do think there is a little bit of risk there with Travis Konechny. Are you worried at all? And maybe this is just too small of a sample size, and it was in the COVID bubble, and obviously that was just a strange time for everybody. But in 22 playoff games, he has exactly 1 goal and 8 points. It feels like we're kind of contrasting that with Tarasenko, where he comes to play when the games get big.
You know what? That's a great point. I hadn't noticed that. Only 8 points in 22 playoff games. That definitely is something to look at here. But I just think the reason I'm okay with it, Ross, is because Konechny, he's not going to have to be the guy. It's going to be similar to Alex DeBrincat. He's under Brady, Timmy, Claude, and maybe I would even put Norris there, right?
Oh,
So, look, it's high risk, high reward. He got 61 points in 60 games. He scored 30 goals in 60 games. If you can get 60 games out of him, you're probably getting mid-20 goals at least. So I think it's a good gamble just because that's a nice contract if he's able to stay healthy. And I just think at that age, he's going to fit in so perfectly with this group.
He makes it a little bit interesting, though, with the cap hit being what it is, 5.5. You'd probably have to look at like a Brandstrom or a Joseph, those mid-level contracts, or both would be almost an even swap. And then you're looking, would you do that with a first?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It would probably cost more because it sounds like the next guy we're going to talk about, Scott Laughton, they declined 2 firsts from St. Louis, the last 2 firsts for him. Scott Laughton has 3 years left at $3 million. He's played 78 games last year, has 43 points. Pilsy, you know how to make a splash? Why don't you just go big? Hey, Pierre Dorion at this point, I almost feel is kind of, auditioning. Well, if the changes are going to continue to come, he might be auditioning for his next role. Why not take an enormous swing and try to get Laughton and Konechny?
Yeah, that would be pretty damn impressive. I don't know if there's room for both, to be perfectly honest. Unless Joseph's. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And someone else probably even.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that would be interesting. Now, Scott Laughton, just on his own, I'll touch on that. I think that would be a great acquisition as well. Similar to Travis Konechny, Scott Laughton's coming off a career year. 43 points is career high for him. And he's someone that I could see playing on the left side of that third line. And I think he would be the driver of that line. And I think he would really help out Pinto. And depending on if Joseph would be a part of that deal or not, that would round out things pretty nicely here. So Scott Laughton is a great option because it's cheaper. He's got 3 years at $3 million. And that kind of solidifies Kubalik as that second line winger, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, I think the constant between the three guys that we're bringing up in terms of trade candidates, and say what you want about DJ's system, but you need to have strong forechecking ability to play in his system well. And that's what these three all have in terms of Travis Konechny, in terms of Scott Laughton, who I think would be a great fit. And he loves playing for DJ as well, Pilsy. Spoke about it after the World Championships. They won gold in together. They also won the Memorial Cup together as members of the Oshawa Generals in the OHL. The third option, again, undersized, but as gritty as they come from the Vancouver Canucks. I'm looking at Connor Garland. And yeah, the contract's a little bit higher, near $5 million. He's got an identical contract as Drake Batherson, 4.95, but he has 3 years left in term. Last year had 46 points in 81 games, had 17 goals and 31 penalty minutes. A little bit streaky when it comes to putting the puck in the net, but for a smaller stature player, this guy battles in front of the net just about as hard as anyone in the league. So I think kind of a pit bull mentality type player in Connor Garland, and I think he would fit really well with the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I like Connor Garland as an option a lot as well. I think he's a guy that kind of provides that up-tempo pace. He's going to be a hard forechecker, like you mentioned. And the thing with Connor Garland is the Vancouver Canucks, they got to get rid of some cap space. Like on Cap Friendly, I'm pretty sure they're one of the top teams, like just behind the Leafs, maybe even, and the Habs. No, yeah, just behind the Leafs is the Vancouver Canucks. So they got to free up some space here. So I'm sure that's a deal you could use. You could do without even losing a roster player if you wanted. Like maybe you send over Joseph, because I don't think they're going full rebuild mode. So maybe they're just trying to shed some cap here. But I think also Vancouver would love Eric Brandstrom. That's their type of up-and-coming defenseman. So I think there's some good options here. And Connor Garland is a guy that he's on 3 years. Sure, it's a little bit higher of a cap hit, but I think he could fit in very nicely on this team.
Our friends over at Locked On Canucks had a great headline grabber. They called it OE Hell because they're in cap hell because of the Oliver Ekman-Larsson buyout. So instead of OEL, OE Hell. I thought that was a good little nod there from our friends at Locked On Canucks. Any final thoughts on today's show, Pilsy? Like, we talked about Konechny, we talked about Scott Laughton, we talked about Connor Garland. Let us know in the comments. Do you prefer giving up a fair bit of assets, and they would have to be solid assets, a first-round pick, a top prospect type trade, or do you try to fit in under the cap with Thomas Tatar or Vladimir Tarasenko? Like where are you at with that? And give me some final thoughts on today's show.
Yeah, I got final thoughts loaded up for this show today as well, Ross. I'm going to get mad at a list. The Athletic posted their way too early projections. And one person at The Athletic, we got to figure out who this is, predicted that the Ottawa Senators could finish dead last place next season. Can you believe that? Like that, I don't know if that's just maybe it's Wheeler just poking fun at Sens fans trying to twist the knife a little, or it's got to be the Montreal guy. I don't know, because like, look, if you think they're going to miss the playoffs, that's one thing. If you think they're going to have a bad season, that's another thing. But to predict that this roster is going to finish 32nd out of 32 teams this year is, Ross, play the Brady Tkachuk that's dumb clip.
I don't even know what he's thinking. He's just a complete brickhead. He's got nothing up there. Just bad guy, bad player, but what a joke he is.
What a joke that is to make that prediction. So I just wanted to get mad at that. I didn't want to retweet it to give them the satisfaction, but that pissed me off this morning.
So you're an expert.
So you're an expert. They also
I certainly know they're not finishing dead last. Come on.
85% of the Athletic staff is in Toronto, so I think you could probably just chalk that one up there. Tomorrow on Locked On Senators, Kevin Mandolese, fresh off signing his extension with the Ottawa Senators. He'll join us on the show, so make sure you like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day, everyone. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.